If you're going to live in Oregon, you're going to want to know the law. In 2025, we have new laws coming to Portland. In this video, I'm going to review those with you. I'm also going to show you a law from last year that got repealed that'll probably have some pretty big effects. And I also found a law that actually didn't get passed last year that was pretty surprising. I want to know your feedback. Stick around. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel Living in Oregon. I am your host, Seth Marchant, licensed real estate broker in Oregon and Washington. And today, I want to talk to you about some new laws that we have coming. If you're new to this channel, Living in Oregon, we've got over 100 videos showing you what it's like to live here. A lot of the videos are neighborhood tours, drone footage, driving footage, really getting you acquainted with the area. This one is just going to be really just kind of informational as far as new laws coming. So if you want to see more videos about what it's like to live in Oregon, mostly focusing on the Portland metropolitan area that includes Southwest Washington where Vancouver is, make sure and hit the subscribe button. All right, first law that we have here, public drug use on transit. Senate Bill 1553. This law expands the crime of interfering with public transportation to include drug use on public transit. So in other words, like if you're on the bus or something like that, you cannot use drugs. If you are not familiar with Oregon, that might sound like a little bit of a surprise to you. We did have a law that was passed in 2020, so almost 5 years ago. It was Measure 110. I actually thought about making a video just for that law. I have to be honest, I might have made a mistake. I might have been wrong on this one. I did vote for Measure 110, and that law was actually repealed last year. So obviously the sentiment, the people of Portland felt like Measure 110 didn't exactly work out that well for us. And what was Measure 110? Well, it decriminalized small amounts of drugs. I believe any drug. So you could basically have any drug in small amounts. And that led to a lot of public drug use. I think this is when fentanyl was kind of coming around too. So, I mean, heroin and meth are pretty bad drugs. I guess fentanyl's even worse. So I think that sort of maybe compounded the problem, but I didn't personally see it too much. You know, there was a lot of videos, articles written about it. I know a lot of other people that did see it. So it was definitely a thing. A lot of people strung out on like fentanyl or heroin in very public places where there's a lot of other people. You know, they're not going to hide in some, dark corner somewhere to do these things. So I think Portlanders really felt like it became unsafe, became a public nuisance. I believe it's dangerous to inhale fentanyl smoke. So if you're around somebody else that's smoking fentanyl, that's not a good thing. So why did I vote for Measure 110? Well, I'm a very pragmatic person. I'm a very solutions-oriented person. And to me, putting people in jail for doing drugs in public places really was not a great solution. Jailing people is very expensive. Paying police officers, judges, lawyers, people that run the jail. It's very expensive to arrest somebody, prosecute somebody, put them in jail. That whole entire judicial process is very, very expensive. And of course, what do they do when they get out of jail? They go back to doing the same thing. Now, I have heard of people that said that going to jail saved their life. So there is that. But for the most part, it didn't really seem to be like a great solution to put people in jail for drugs. So the thinking was, and there's other examples, you might see Portugal on this, the thinking is that rather than taking all those funds that we used to spend to jail people, we would reallocate those funds towards treatment so they can actually have a solution, so they can actually fix the problem. Again, I like to fix problems. So that was my thinking voting for Measure 110. That obviously didn't happen. I'm not sure why, if it was the system or if the ball got dropped. I'm pretty busy. I don't have time to dig into all of these little things in Portland. I'm busy helping people like you buy houses. But that Measure 110 in 2020 got repealed just this past year in 2024. And this Senate Bill 1553, it is probably kind of in conjunction with that. probably don't want to be riding the max with somebody smoking fentanyl next to you. So yeah, maybe a little bit embarrassing admitting to voting for Measure 110. I'm pretty self-deprecating. I can admit when I made a mistake. Again, I still think in concept it makes sense. And I don't know how much we can coerce people. That's maybe part of the problem. But treatment as opposed to confinement seems to make a lot more sense. And it felt like that was more the path that we're on. So it feels like a little bit of a missed opportunity too, because we didn't quite get it right, and now we're kind of back to square one. But nevertheless, that was the will of the people to repeal Measure 110 and get away from some of this public drug use, and Senate Bill 1553 kind of probably expanding on that. Next thing, prescription drug costs. House Bill 4113. Aimed at making prescription drugs more affordable, this law ensures that amounts paid towards prescription drugs count towards an enrollee's out-of-pocket maximum. Now, I do have links for all of these too from our Oregon State Legislature, OregonStateLegislature.gov. I'll include all of these links in the description of the video. If you want to see more information, they've got some summaries, they've got statements. So if you want to know more than what I'm sharing with you here, look in the description of this video. So this one was interesting to me. I think we've all probably heard that there's other people out there in the world, specifically other countries, that access the same drugs that we do and pay less money. Doesn't exactly feel right, does it? So not really sure how Oregon can kind of influence that, but this seems like it will be a very beneficial law. All right, prescription drug access. House Bill 4012 prevents health insurers from requiring physician-administered drugs such as chemotherapy to be dispensed at specialty pharmacies. That must have been a problem. Officials explain that physicians have to be able to buy and bill physician-administered drugs for patients. But in recent years, insurers have tried to reduce costs by requiring those drugs to be purchased from select pharmacies. We have similar rules about that big no-no from steering people in real estate. All right, next law, school bus safety. I've got small kids, so I'm definitely going to be more biased towards this law. House Bill 4147, the law permits schools to install cameras on school buses to record drivers who fail to stop for bus safety lights when students are getting on or off, enhancing safety measures. Now, I have seen, and I don't want to share one with you. I wasn't going to look one up and superimpose it over this video, but I have seen videos of small kids getting off buses, crossing the road, and let's say a driver was behind the bus, got impatient, decided to pass the bus. Of course, they can't see the kid coming and hit the kid. It's probably happened quite a few times. Kids have probably died from this, which is really just completely inexcusable. At first, when I saw this, actually, I thought that when I saw school bus cameras, I thought it was going to be referring to the inside of the bus. When I was growing up, when I was in school over 2.5 decades ago, all the school buses had right in the center at the front of the school bus these little boxes that had a dark screen on it, and I think it actually had the word camera on it. We never found out if those cameras were recording. Never seen any footage from school buses back then. Never heard of any footage. I doubt the camera. We all sort of doubted that those cameras were recording. I think they were maybe just there as a deterrent for the kids. I don't know if they have cameras on all the buses these days. My kids don't ride the buses. I think it's a good idea because I have seen to not only have cameras on the inside of school buses, but on the outside, and especially to get these people that are being impatient, that are putting kids in jeopardy by passing a school bus when these kids are getting off. So I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for people that are going to break that law. I would say that should probably be an automatic license suspension for a very long time, maybe life if you actually hit a kid. So this is a nice law to see, so that we can be a little bit more vigilant about being able to enforce that law, because it's probably tough to enforce. You're a school bus driver and you got somebody behind you that's impatient. You stop to let a kid off, and that person passes you. you're not going to be able to just call that into 911, So this is definitely a good idea and something that I would definitely support. All right, on to the next thing, right to repair for electronics. Senate Bill 1596, Oregon has enacted a right to repair law requiring manufacturers to provide access to parts, tools, and repair information for personal electronics and household appliances, promoting repair over replacement. Now, I have to say, this one does not strike me as a great idea, and I don't know why we need to make a law out of this. So we're going to ask manufacturers to do more. So in other words, it's going to cost more money. That they're not just going to provide those parts and those tools and manuals all for free, of course. So this is going to affect everybody. The thing is about electronics. Electronics are becoming very ubiquitous. I mean, they're everywhere. Wasn't so much the case when I was a kid. I didn't get a cell phone until maybe I was like a late teen. And so you would think with electronics, that space just growing and growing, that might spawn a lot of repair shops. But you don't see a whole lot of electronic repair shops. And the reason why that is because let's take TVs, for example. If there is an electronic repair shops, maybe a TV is maybe one of the more common things that somebody might attempt to repair. TVs, what do they last for? 5, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? Older ones probably last longer. I think my first flat screen plasma TV lasted like 15 years. Second one lasted like 5 or 6 years. I think I got my first one like 20 years ago. And even 20 years ago, with the pace of technology, the pace of change of technology being much lower than it is now, what you find out is a 5 or 6 year old TV, the cost to repair the TV or the time, whatever it may be, it usually just doesn't pencil out when you compare it to just buying a new TV. Electronics tend to get cheaper and cheaper over time. You tend to get more for your dollar. You get more pixels. You get more size. You get more screen size. You get a thinner screen. You tend to get more and more over time for your dollar. And so a lot of these electronics really become antiquated. It's expensive, and it just doesn't make sense to repair these things, even if you're doing it on your own. So I can't imagine. I have to wonder what prompted a bill like this. Is there really a bunch of people out there that are upset that they can't fix their old appliances? Kind of hard to imagine. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is that something that you would really want? Is you would want manufacturers to be forced to be able to provide you with parts and tools and everything you need to repair something? Keep in mind, it's not going to be at no cost. If it was free, yeah, sure. Okay, great. But it will come at a cost. So that one, that just strikes me as just antiquated as general. You guys let me know what you think, though. All right, next one. Divestment from coal investments. House Bill 4083. This legislation directs the Oregon Investment Council and State Treasurer to eliminate investments in coal companies, promoting a shift towards clean energy. There's an exception of the coal companies transitioning to clean energy within a reasonable time. Okay, that's definitely a good thing, a positive thing. I have some different thoughts about that, though. We definitely want to get away from coal, of course. But one thing, and this makes me actually think about my video that I did last month, where I talked about Portland's new mayor, Keith Wilson, in which he said that he would like Portland to have the lowest carbon footprint of all the cities, maybe it's just all the major cities in the United States, which is a great goal to have. The one thing to know, though, is that clean energy, green energy, is not less expensive. Coal, in many cases, is going to be less expensive. That's why a lot of people use it. The country that uses the most coal on this planet is China, closely followed by India. And if Portland were to go carbon neutral or just have the lowest carbon footprint, whatever it may be, that will come as a cost to the people of Portland, which is fine. But I just wonder, we all share the same atmosphere. So us here in Portland, in Oregon, we can reduce our carbon emissions, but it's an uphill battle if everybody else doesn't get on the same page. If China and India are not going to attempt to reduce their carbon emissions, I sort of wonder what is going to be, if there is any material or tangible benefit to Portlanders. It's not like LA back in the 90s where we're going to reduce smog and there's like actually going to be something noticeable. So going green, going clean, getting away from coal, these are all good things. I think this bill is a good thing. I think one of the best ways to influence others is to hit them where it hurts, which is in the pocket. So this is probably one of the best ways to do so. But just I think, one thing we need to be mindful when we talk about going green is that it's going to cost us, and we should be considering what benefits we're actually going to realize, keeping in mind that not everybody else is going to be on the same page with us. So step in the right direction, but I think we need to be mindful of some other things too. Transparency in school board meetings, the last one here. And then I'm going to take you to one that did not pass this past year that I was actually a little bit surprised about. So Senate Bill 1502, school boards are now required to post video or audio recordings of their regular meetings online with the week of the meeting, aiming to increase public access to educational governance decisions. Now, I've seen a lot of school board meetings. I think most of them probably are recorded. Some of them must not have been recorded, and enough so that it made sense for people to create a new law. So that sounds like a good law to me. It's not going to be hard to do. Most people already do it. Not really going to cost anything. Schools have lots of cameras, so I think this is a good law. All right, let me take you to a law that did not pass. Voters reject Oregon's Measure 118 on creating new corporate tax and rebate for residents. Oregon voters have rejected Measure 118, which would increase corporate taxes, give all residents a yearly rebate last Tuesday. And this is, I think, from November? Yeah, November 5th. Late Tuesday, the Secretary of State's office showed that a whopping 79% of voters, and that is very surprising, opposed the measure, while 21% voted in favor. I think it's hard to get that many people to agree on anything, let alone this. And let me tell you why this is a little bit surprising after I read a little bit more here. One of the two statewide citizen initiatives on ballot Measure 118 would add an extra 3% tax on most businesses on sales over $25 million a year. Those proceeds would then be distributed to every resident, regardless of age or situation, provided they lived in Oregon for at least 200 days in the applicable year. Okay, so that to me is surprising because it just feels so easy to say, wow, $25 million a year, the big guys, the big bad guys, why not tax them a little 3% and have that get kicked back to us? Well, there might be some people out there that might not pass along that tax based on their business, the type of business that they do or the service that they offer, but the vast majority are going to pass that along. So it's not as if this is just free money. So I think that was very wise of Portland voters. It definitely would have been easy to vote for it, and just a lot of people probably wouldn't have felt the effects. Some people are going to feel the effects, and the effects that you're going to feel are probably going to be really, really just negligible. So, I mean, it really would have been an easy thing to vote for, but having more taxes is not inherently a good thing. I'm in favor of taxes to allocate funds towards things that are really important to us and meaningful, not just so that you could have some free money back in your pocket. So kudos to Portlanders for voting that down. That's all that I have for you right now. If you're thinking about moving to Oregon, or maybe you already live here and you want to buy a home, a piece of land, investment property, whatever it may be, I'm licensed in both Oregon and Washington. I invite you to call me, text me, email me. You can find all the contact information in the description of this video below. And if you aren't very familiar with this area and you want to know more about what it's like to live in this area, make sure and subscribe to this channel. feel free to leave a comment. I'll comment back. And if this video helped you, give me a thumbs up. Lets me know if you guys like these videos, if I should do more like this, or if I should do something else. So definitely give me a thumbs up, or give me a thumbs down if you don't like this video too. We definitely welcome feedback. Until next time, take care, everyone.